Well, Senator, a couple of important developments we want to talk to you about this afternoon, including what looks to be some big wins for Montana with the in the National Defense Authorization Act. I want to start out by getting your thoughts about that.
Yeah, so we were able to get an amendment included in the National Defense Authorization Act that gave the Little Shell recognition. The Little Shell Indian tribe is a tribe that's been trying to get recognition for over 150 years. So they've been at this for generations upon generations upon generations. And the House announced yesterday that the NDAA would be voted on tomorrow with the Little Shell amendment that Senator Daines and I have. And so we look forward, you know, it's been passed for 58 straight years, the NDAA has. And so I look forward to getting it over to the Senate early next week, getting it passed, getting it at the President's desk. It's also important for our national defense also, by the way. It has some very important components for it. But more parochially, it's the Little Shell tribe is going to be very, very happy once this gets across the President's desk.
And you mentioned they've been fighting for this for a long, long time. What does it mean for tribe members now?
Well, for the Little Shell, it means that they're going to be able to have access to health care and housing and education benefits they didn't have before, because they will fall underneath the trust agreements that were signed by previous generations and Native American tribes a long, long time ago. So it's going to help them move into the 21st century, I think, in a very positive way. And you know, Chairman Gray has been is important in this process, as previous chairmen have, but he's been particularly patient with a plan, and he has pushed hard, and I think it's worked out well for the tribe, his leadership.
Also, a word today of a final agreement in the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement. You think that's a good deal?
In a word, it's good because of certainty. I mean, if you're going to have a good business climate, you have to have certainty. And when it comes to agriculture and Main Street businesses, trade is really, really important. In this case, it's with Canada and Mexico. Canada, our #1 trading partner, and Mexico, a country that imports more barley, for example, from Montana than any other country in the world. So it's important. Look, if you look at the two agreements, NAFTA and USMCA, there isn't a huge difference, but there's a little difference. There's some bennies for dairy in there, and there's some benefits for car manufacturers. The rest of the benefits are really going to depend upon how this thing is negotiated out with the different agencies. For example, let me give you one. Grain grading heading north. We grain grade coming south is what it is, whether it's feed or #1 hard amber durum, whatever it is. Going north, it's all classified as feed. If this is negotiated out properly within the Department of Agriculture, then we're going to make sure that we have grain going north that's graded as fairly as grain coming south. That's a big deal. The House negotiated some stuff on enforcement and prescription drugs that I also think makes it a better deal. So I look forward to getting the bill over from the House, hopefully early next week, and get it voted on, get it done with. Now we need to do the same thing with the Pacific Rim and the European Union so that we have good trade agreements. Look, commodity prices are in the tank. Russ, we've talked about it before. We're going to have farmers and ranchers go out of business here in wholesale fashion, similar to the way it was in the 1980s. These trade agreements are critically important. This one looks like it's going to be behind us, and it will give us the certainty we need. We need to do the same thing in the Pacific Rim and with the EU and all over the world.
Finally, can I get your comments on the House moving forward with the articles of impeachment today?
Yeah, so this hasn't been over in the Senate. I mean, we've seen the hearings. I haven't really paid much attention personally to them because we've had other work we've been doing. But they've said there's going to be a couple articles. I guess there's 7 or 8 pages long. I'm going to read those tonight. And then I think if that comes over to the Senate, and it appears like it's going to, then we need to treat this very, very seriously, try to remove the politics out of it, and make a determination. And we will, because the Senate will be the jury as to whether to convict or acquit the President on the charges that the House is sending over. So, look, it's unfortunate it's happening. In the meantime, we need to continue to do the business that the country expects of us.
You mentioned getting the politics out of it. Do you think that's possible with the way things seem to be right now? Everyone seems to already have made up their mind depending on what party they're with.
It's a big challenge, Russ, and I will tell you that we need to sit down, and I'm talking about we being the senators that serve in the greatest deliberative body of this world, and sit down and listen to the evidence very, very carefully. This will set a standard moving forward that other presidents will live by. So it's just not a Republican issue, it's just not a Democratic issue. It's an issue that affects this country and the democracy in which we live. And so we need to take it very, very seriously, and we need to depoliticize it if we're going to do the job and do it right.
Senator, anything else that you feel like is important to mention today before we let you go?
Well, I would just say that the appropriations bills appear to be moving, and the biggest one is the one, the Homeland Security Subcommittee. There are still a few things that are held up, but as I told my staff this morning, if both sides want to give a little, we can get an agreement pretty fast, and those appropriations bills getting done before Christmas would be a good thing to do, once again, for the certainty that businesses and contractors depend upon from the federal government.
All right. Thank you, Senator Tester, for joining us today.